John Lennox, he's a mathematician from Oxford University. He's a Christian. They had a debate. During the debate, John Lennox showed how the ethical arguments that he was making are flawed. Right? You disagree with that?
So I should explain. This is a friend of mine, Felix.
Okay.
Maybe at some point he could chip in if you've got strong things.
I think John Lennox is an absolutely ridiculous person.
Okay, hang on.
I think he's completely intellectually compromised.
Well, let me point out what he said and let's see if you disagree with it.
You want to come
right?
just quickly because Felix may not know. We've chatted a lot. We got on. I'm trying to keep it as
sure.
constructive.
That was me coming in at a ridiculous level. On lower my angry level.
That would be cool. And then because he's very bright and he does a lot of philosophy. And so we can have a conversation if everybody's going to be.
What did John
Lennox? So the point that John Lennox said in a debate with Richard Dawkins was about Dawkins' statement that we should rebel against our genes. And what Lennox said is that conceptually, how does that make sense that we rebel against our genes? What is it in us that actually rebels? So the argument was about whether we are supposed to dance to our DNA according to what Dawkins writes himself in River Out of Eden and other books, and how it is that we can rebel against our nature when we ourselves can't be a separate being from our nature. So conceptually, the argument of rebelling against our genes is incoherent. That's what Lennox was saying.
But don't you think we're what makes us unique as humans part is that we are aware of our nature?
So say that again?
We're aware of our nature in a way no other animal is. I mean, you can point to maybe like dolphins hunt for sport, monkeys make rudimentary tools and can count and stuff. They're pretty intelligent, but humans are way beyond that.
So,
and we've done the research to the point where we've solved the twin nuclear problem. We've split the atom and we've split the cell. We've discovered DNA, and we're still at the foothills of all the research it will take to understand that. Do you not think that our very awareness of it can allow us to understand it and do things to sort of change our behaviour and break through it? Why is that intrinsically not possible?
Repeat your last point again, because I got distracted.
Why is it not the case that our awareness of our nature can allow us to transcend it?
Okay, so I would say that's an interesting point, but it's not the point I was referring to in terms of Lennox, because that's conceptually, I mean, you may disagree with Lennox in terms of other stuff. In fact, some of the stuff Lennox said in terms of the arguments that he's made, I think are fantastic. There's other things I disagree with him on, but this particular point that Dawkins made, that we should rebel against our DNA, I think is incoherent. I think Lennox was right about that. Like, what is it that rebels?
But why can't we even trust our consciousness, our bodies, our psychology, everything? Which of course all those things come from our DNA.
Yeah. That's the point. That's the point he was making.
Well, yes, that is true.
So you agree with Lennox that it's incoherent? It doesn't make sense.
No, I do not agree.
Okay.
It's incoherent.
So what makes you think that us saying we are, firstly, like you said, we're the product of our DNA.
Yes.
And then saying we should rebel against our genes.
Okay, so for example...
Forget what Lennox says. What I'm saying is Dawkins is incoherent in what he's saying here.
I don't think so. Like, we can look at similar cases in the animal kingdom. For example, if you look at, like, lions. Lion kills the other lions, becomes alpha in the pack, has sex with the lioness, has some baby lions, and then eventually wanders off. Comes across another tribe of lions, and wants to make a new partner because he's the alpha lion. He wants to do that. Lioness has existing children from a previous marriage or relationship with the previous lion. What is the alpha lion going to do to those children? He's going to kill them. He kills them, right? This has been documented several nature films because he doesn't want them to remind him of the other lion's pet, right? So that is and you can see that in other sort of similarly tribal kind of mammalian species, hunter kind of predator kind of species. So presumably some of that DNA is in the human genome at some level, right? Do humans go around if they have second, third marriages, they kill the children of their wives from the previous marriages?
No.
Not in general, no. So is that not an example of where we can transcend our own nature?
The evidence suggests that we have transcended.
So look, I think there's a misunderstanding here. We both agree on the fact. The theory behind the fact is what Lennox and Dawkins were disagreeing about.
Yes.
So Lennox was pointing out God as the cause of our moral sense. Dawkins was saying we rebelled against our DNA.
Yes.
Right? Now, so what you've articulated here, we don't disagree on the fact. The point is, the concept of us. Now, here's something I do want to point out, and I said this to you earlier.
Yeah.
Kin selection, reciprocal altruism, and the expanding circle. Those are theories that I disagree with. I believe are false, but they're coherent.
Yeah.
I believe they're coherent.
They are coherent.
However, what Dawkins said about rebelling against our DNA is incoherent.
Okay.
I'm still not.
So I'll explain why. I'll explain
Can I
why.
chip in on why that may be wrong, just as a layman, because your guys are on a high level than me right now.
Sure.
But rebelling against my DNA, surely mutation is precisely what that would be. Mutation will be the thing when you are rebelling. You have an existing paradigm, which no, it can't change its nature except for mutation, which is the rebellion you're talking about, which creates the upgrade. That's what evolution speaks of.
Okay, so that
Which is how that works at the level of natural selection, but now it could happen even faster.
Okay,
now we're
but
starting to develop gene editing technologies like
no, but
CRISPR.
there's a problem here.
What if you could edit your own DNA? Surely you could change your own
Our
DNA.
DNA today came about, according to Darwinists, by random mutations
Yes.
being selected.
Yes.
Adding random mutations to that process doesn't make us more moral, right? It doesn't solve the problem. You're just adding more of the same thing. If DNA is something to be rebelled against, how DNA came about to add to that process.
No, sorry. You're not rebelling against DNA, you're rebelling against the paradigm that DNA is instated. That's not the same thing.
Okay, so
there's a pattern of behavior the DNA instates, but you use the DNA then mutates and creates a new pattern of behavior.
Okay,
so you can transcend your previous behavioral pattern. That would be the theory, which would account for the male lions eating other offspring, whereas we wouldn't.
No, but that's not what even Dawkins was referring to.
To some extent, I don't want to defend other people's opinions.
Okay, but the conversation started off with why that is incoherent. Okay, so let me just explain and summarize, because I'm going to make it quick, why I believe that's totally incoherent. And later on we can get into the coherent things, kin selection, reciprocal altruism, and expanding circle, which are coherent, but I can show that they have major flaws. Okay, now when it comes to that idea of rebelling against our genes, Lennox points out to Dawkins, what is it within us that actually rebels? Now, if you're a naturalist, you're going to be wedded, most likely, especially someone like Dawkins, to some form of monism.
Right.
That the mind is the brain at work. That's it.
Yeah.
So from that perspective, it's incoherent to say rebel against your genes. Secondly, the other point is, why rebel against your genes? There's two problems here. One is the origin of the rebellion. The second is, why follow that imperative? Why not accept the genes?
Why?
Because I might think that the genes are incentivizing us to perform actions which I think are immoral, and I would like to not take those immoral actions.
But that's circular.
Why is it circular?
It's circular because you want to be good, but I'm saying, why would you want to be good in the first place?
Because that's my base assertion. I'm saying.
Yeah, but what's the justification for that?
What's the justification for wanting to be good? at some point I have to have a base assertion, right? You can't expect me to keep it for it to be tough all the way down.
Okay, but Darwinism has programmed us to be selfish. Why are you going against that state?
But we
yes, it has. But
thank you for admitting that.
I can decide
because a lot of people just don't know that.
But that's the whole point of the selfish street. That's the whole point of that book. Yes, of course I agree with that. But just because it has programmed us in that way does not necessarily mean we have to be that way. We can decide with our free will. You believe we have free will, right? To be different and not constantly murder and rape and steal and lie our way out.
Okay, but there's a gap between the nature and the actions that you think are correct. So, for example,
why does this have to be intellectual? Why can't I just decide and assert with my consciousness and free will?
It's not coherent from a materialist perspective, because if you think the materialist level is dictating the cognitive level, then you can't.
You said it better than I. That's what I was trying to articulate.
Okay, but my counter position is then you're to me you're manning to an extent, because I'm not a materialist. Okay, you're attacking the views, the logical consequences of people who are materialists, and you're correct. But I'm not. I've got a more nuanced view. Materialism might be.
By the way,
and I don't think either.
By the way,
I'm not
just to point out, can you repeat that again, because you articulated it? Okay, but that was good. That was really good.
No,
that was good. Okay, so what you said is, if we were programmed and even our consciousness ultimately started off with that DNA.
Yeah. If the mind is purely caused by the brain, so if the material brain purely causes the mind as like an epiphenomenon, byproduct, then it would be incoherent to argue that we could.
That's the point I was making.
Which is what you're suggesting.
That's the point I was making.
Sure.
Okay. But
I'm not saying you're incoherent. I'm saying Dawkins is incoherent. So do you agree with that?
I would, unless there's a feedback loop, and Karl Popper and people like that have argued there may be a feedback loop. If you watch the recent debate with whoever it was, I can't remember, whoever it was, forget it. I think Penrose and Penrose and analytical idealism, Bernardo Castro, they both argue that the function of
idealism. Okay. Do you believe in that?
I tend to keep about 3 or 4 possibilities on the board. Okay, materialism is one possibility I'll keep on the board, but I don't want to be anchored to it, because I'm also panpsychism. I think we both think is also potentially true, and analytical idealism.
Okay, so can I just add something?
So at least 3 models.
So I just want to. It's very important to clarify definitions, as you know.
Okay.
Why did you make a distinction between panpsychism and materialism?
Because in materialism, the mind would be caused by the brain. In other words, whereas
it's emergent.
No, I'm not sure emergency. It's just a causal relationship. Maybe emergent, but it's caused by it. Whereas in panpsychism, the mind would be a property of the brain, and being caused by something is not the same as being a property of something. For example, if you've got a red car, the redness of the car isn't caused by the car. Whereas if I paint the car red, then I am causing the redness. So the relationship is different in the 2 models.
Sure.
Now, if all matter has an inherent element of qualia to it, a latent element, which is the premise of panpsychism, then it's a very different universe to explore, and it may be coherent.
But some materialists, the reason why I'm saying this, some materialists say the universe is made of 4 fundamental building blocks: time, space, matter, qualia.
They acknowledge qualia, but they're material. How do they square that circle?
The reason I pointed it out is because this is a fringe view in materialism.
Okay.
Some materialists say we can accept qualia and still be materialist. We can be panpsychist and materialist.
You think they're wrong?
That sounds weird. I think time and space are emergent properties, so I don't think they're fundamental.
But that's because you don't believe we began off with consciousness. That's your assumption.
What do you? When did I say that?
You said you believe consciousness is an emergent property.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm
open to the panpsychist view as well.
He's open to the
okay.
The point with being open to multiple conflicting and competing possibilities is I'm sure we're not anchoring ourselves into a singular position. I'm not pinning my flag to the mast, which you can accuse of that's that non-committal and whatever. But we're just humans in this crazy big universe. Of course, I don't know how it all works, and you don't either. No one does.
But I do want to say one thing, which is quite categorical. I think materialism is categorically false.
Okay, explain why.
Well, we spoke about qualia earlier.
Yeah.
That is the clearest evidence, because if we go back to Descartes' dictum, I think therefore I am was the only thing he could.
I am is
Yeah. Well, we can translate that to the modern day. I'm conscious, therefore I am.
Yeah.
Right. So, if consciousness, and I believe it has, we've argued for it for enough decades to know this now. If consciousness cannot be explained from a naturalistic way, then materialism must be false. And I say that categorically, by the way.
Strong argument.
Yeah.
However, there are more things in heaven and earth than are dreamt of than your philosophy, Horatio. Okay. I understand the limitations of my mind, and I should have respect for the unknown unknowns.
That's known as mysticism, by the way.
Okay, fine. I'm into mysticism. I'm sure. Mystic and all of that. Okay. And because so much of the data which is gathered from the materialistic platform, which seems cogent, it keeps paying off. The materialists keep delivering again and again in the lab. I would be foolish to immediately discount that platform. I see the
Except for consciousness, which is the base,
Absolutely.
which is the base, the basis of everything.
And Penrose has, of course, done lots of research into this himself.
So who else?
He's Roger Penrose.
Oh, right.
He's worked with anaesthetists on these structures inside the brain called microtubules. You know about this? Okay, fine. So you know, and he said things like consciousness is not a computation. I think Penrose's thinking on this is brilliant, but he's very aware that there is it's almost like the gap between two synapses in the brain, or Adam and God trying to reach out, and they can't quite connect. It's like the missing link, not in the sense of evolution, because there is no missing link there. But
I mean,
but in the sense of going from, as we're discussing, the pure material substrate of the brain to consciousness and the mind. For now it remains a mystery, but I don't think we can categorically say whether or not material science will solve that one day or not. It might be that we have to change our conception of what material science
I just want to add something. You're familiar with the Mary thought experiment?
The Mary thought experiment.
She's in a room that's grey.
Yes. Right.
So we all recognise, whether you're materialist, panpsychist, theist, we all recognise there's a hard problem of consciousness.
Yes.
We know it's there.
Yeah, there's a hard problem.
There's a hard problem.
Fascinating
Okay.
thing.
Now, certain things I think should be ruled out in terms of consciousness. I believe there's two views that should be ruled out, and I want to get your thoughts on this. You may agree or disagree. I believe materialism cannot be justified if the hard problem exists, then materialism has to be false. Secondly, and that's categorically. Secondly is a probabilistic point I'm going to make, not categorical, which is the view of mysterioism, that consciousness is a mystery, our brains didn't evolve to help us solve it. I think that's unjustified considering all of the technological advances that we've done. We've gone to the moon, or some people believe we don't. We're involved in quantum computing, we're sequencing the genome, we're doing all of this. So I believe it's for materialists, it's a get out of jail card to say, it's too much of a mystery and we'll never solve it. It's better to admit that materialism has been shown to be false.
For the reason I just said, because materialism has delivered so many other positive and coherent solutions to so many pragmatic problems, I don't feel equipped to dismiss it. I see the philosophical problem it presents, and I think you're right. At a philosophical level, I totally agree with you. At a more pragmatic level, I've got to give some
Can I just unpack what you said there and just want your thoughts?
Sure.
Materialism has delivered XYZ epistemically.
Yeah, in the lab.
In the lab.
Predictively, that's where we go for our data.
I would say it's not materialism that's delivered, it's empirical science.
The methodology, the method.
Which people make synonymous with materialism, but it's not synonymous with materialism, because under a deistic view, which is your view, right, which is not materialistic clearly, you would still as a scientist produce the same results.
But all the luminaries you've been listing are, you say, materialists, yes?
Which luminaries?
You were mentioning various scientists who were materialists, and you were castigating them for being materialists. Yeah? I'm saying I philosophically agree with you, but I can't ignore their expertise to the point where I can completely dismiss their perspective. Given that qualia is such a mystery and consciousness is such a mystery, it may simply be beyond my grasp. I think we're missing something. I don't know what it is.
Okay, I think you missed the point I was making. The point I was making is the successes that you're pointing to are not due to materialism. They're due to empirical science. And that empirical science can be done by a materialist, a theist, a deist, whoever it is.
Okay, ignore what I said about the people you quoted. I take your point. They've misunderstood the nature of science. Constructive scientific methodology should be more aware of all of the ontological dimensions. Except that's not the brief of physics. It's not the brief of physics to address ontology. It's the brief of physics to address physics, yes? It's necessary that they limit their purview of ontology to a specific field. But once they start paying out predictively in the lab, I have to give them some due respect. And just because I have a philosophical problem with going, but that doesn't seem compatible with another idea, doesn't mean I can completely reject the validity of that position.
No, so I agree with you, except when it comes to certain fields, right? For example, quantum mechanics, you cannot separate physics and philosophy. You cannot. So someone can look at the same phenomena and come up with many worlds, relational, the Copernican, informational, shut up and calculate, whatever it is. But the fact is, the physics cannot be neatly separated from the philosophy. It's impossible.
Okay, if I were to
do you mean ontologically and permanently, or just in the present moment of our civilization, where our understanding of quantum physics is right now?
I mean categorically that problem of understanding quantum phenomena.
But it might be solved tomorrow. Someone might put out a paper tomorrow.
Let me explain. Is joint at the hip, because some problems are not physical or metaphysical. They're both.
Right.
They're both.
So I can take issue with that. If I were to ask the 190 Nobel Prize winners in the National Academy of Science, I think a fair chunk of them would disagree with you. Example, I think it was Niels Bohr who said, "Shut up and do the maths." Was that Niels Bohr?
Yeah.
There is a view within the discipline which says we specifically must avoid engaging with the arena of philosophy. Philosophers can, but that's not our brief, and it becomes counterproductive when we do. Again, I can't.
I disagree. So look, you can have 190 Nobel Prize winners, or for example, Stephen Hawking, such a great scientist, but they can say something totally false.
For sure.
Yeah, there's no such thing as philosophy-free science. There's no such thing.
Not in terms of its genesis.
No, it's just not possible.
Well,
so I don't care whether it's 1,000 Nobel Prize winners or a billion. There is no such thing as philosophy-free science.
But why can't you just be patient? Why can't you just wait for the answer to arrive?
No, you can, but while you're doing the experiments, you're working within a philosophical framework.
But that might...
Because everything is contained within an ontological and philosophical framework.
Yes.
Yeah? It doesn't follow that I have to engage with philosophy in order to understand a lot about this bottle and the water in it. Yeah?
But you do need to do something, which is, say you're studying my brain drinking this water. So I'm drinking it, and you're looking at the neural correlates, and you're trying to link the mental state to the brain states, right? Now, if you're a neuroscientist and you're like, I hate philosophy and I'm just studying this correlation, and if you are to derive from that the fact that for a materialist the brain has to be the mind. For a materialist, it has to be.
None of us are formally materialists here. It's just we're not dismissing.
I'm giving you a hypothetical scenario. That neuroscientist has the assumption of physicalism. That's an assumption. So whatever science you're doing, it's going to involve some level of philosophy.
Then he's not a good scientist. A good scientist would just be going, I'm looking at data and I'm trying to find correlation.
That doesn't exist.
That's a very sweeping statement.
All scientists work within a field that has philosophical assumptions.
Agreed, but the assumption you said they've made may not be ubiquitous.
For example, methodological naturalism is an assumption. That is an assumption. Look, philosophy in the past and science were done together. Scientists in the past were called natural philosophers.
Yes.
Newton was a natural philosopher, Darwin was a natural philosopher, Francis Bacon was a natural philosopher.
You are victim to exactly the same problem yourself, yes?
It's not a problem. I don't think it's a problem.
It's a problem for other people. Why wouldn't it be a problem for you?
No, I don't think it's a problem. I think it's good.
Okay, so
Then why are you talking about it so much?
No, because you said you can do science without philosophy. I'm saying you can't.
I'm not.
You're not?
No, I'm saying the job of I don't think you can in practice, but you should aspire to do so. A good scientist is trying to eliminate any value judgment beyond physical because he knows his mind will deceive him, yes? He's aware of all of the qualia problems and cognitive bias in psychology, but he's not studying psychology, so the lab itself is designed to minimize cognitive bias so you can be as objective as possible about material data and then find correlations and so that you can make predictions and test them in a lab.
Okay,
and
so
when you do that, you're limiting. You're not interested in just my wife loves me. Is that a good film? Is that nice?
No, but you're
interested in matter and energy.
You've introduced a term I don't agree with.
Which one?
You said cognitive bias.
Well, we all have a cognitive bias. Yeah?
So what I meant when I said philosophy is included within the science, I didn't mean philosophy comes with the cognitive biases. I didn't mean that.
What did you mean?
What I meant is that all scientists work within a philosophical framework.
We agree.
Yeah.
All humans work within a philosophical
It's
framework.
inevitable, but you can't use that as an argument to trump any. You can't then go.
What's the point?
So my philosophical argument trumps your physical argument. Just because all physics is contained within the whole world is contained within a philosophical and ontological framework, it doesn't mean that you can just ignore any. Like for example, the world is not flat. Yeah. I don't care what philosophical position you've got.
That's
tangible.
That's not a that's an empirical issue.
I can use this as a practical example. There is no philosophical context you could possibly give which could undermine the assertion that the world is objectively more round than
I agree.
There comes a point at which purely looking at the material data overrides any argument, including any philosophical subtext you may bring. The only kind of philosophical subtext you might try and insert into that would be to be a pure idealist and go, there is no world, it's all in my mind. You could go that way.
So let me just explain that the point you made that you cannot undermine someone's science, their physics, by saying, oh, there's a philosophy behind this and therefore my philosophy trumps yours. I agree with you.
Not always. You can use it as a valid tool, but you can't always do it.
I actually agree with you, but what I do believe you can do is point out when it comes to a certain field and someone's coming up with conclusions, you can point out these conclusions are not categorical because there's a physicalist assumptions. For example,
correct.
For example, Daniel Dennett was and Sam Harris and the new atheists. They're brilliant in terms of one's good at neuroscience, one's good at philosophy, right? But they're absolutely wrong in terms of, at least Dennett's view, that consciousness is an illusion. Do you see?
Sam Harris, I don't think.
No. Sam Harris comes with neuroscience, but Dennett says consciousness is an illusion.
Which we've already agreed is a totally fallacious statement because it's real even if it's an illusion.
No, but why is he wrong? He's wrong because
the reason I just said.
No, but I'm trying to tease out the reason why he's wrong. And the reason why he's wrong is he has started off with the wrong philosophical assumption, and that is of physicalism.
That may be why he's wrong.
No, that is why he's wrong.
There might be other reasons he's wrong. He's just using bad logic. But yeah, he's wrong. He's clear. We can all agree he's wrong. Consciousness being an illusion is ridiculous because it is what it is. Yeah, when you say something's an illusion, you're effectively challenging that it is what it is. But consciousness, by virtue of I think therefore I am, is undeniably your ground
and look, it undeniably undermines materialism.
It's certainly problematic.
No, I would say it's decisive.
See, this is where I think my problem, and I'm guessing Felix's problem with when we talk on these levels with religious people, is your level of certainty. That's the primary thing. We're happy to live in a world where you may be right. I'm not saying I'm sure you're wrong. Maybe you're right.
It's exactly that. It's about disposition and temperament. Like we can have this argument for till the cows come home, but in terms of like how it sits with you, what we know, what we can know, what we can't know, what we can and can't be categorically certain about. To me, like, I'm happy to just debate all these things. Maybe it could be materialism, maybe it could be panpsychism, maybe it could be deism, maybe it could be something else. But you seem to need certainty to some of these
I wouldn't say need.
questions.
I wouldn't say need. I would say the evidence leads to that conclusion. But I'll ask you a question to see if you're certain. Is astronomy better than astrology?
Better in what sense?
Huh?
Better in what sense?
As in, it's a science.
That's better at being a science. Yeah, it has more predictive power.
Okay, why are you being so certain? Why are you no more skeptical about this? You know what? So you're challenging my certainty. You're challenging my certainty, but you're certain.
I'm not challenging.
We all have certainty.
I'm not. Excuse me. I'm not challenging your certainty. I'm challenging your need for certainty. It's not the same thing.
No, but I think there's a mistake here. It's not the case that I'm in need for certainty, that therefore I find something probabilistic and I make it categorical. I think the evidence makes it categorical. It's not that I'm in need to make it.
How can you? I don't understand how you can make these kind of categorical
about materialism.
assertions.
So,
do you have not ontological knowledge of the fundamental rules of logic which underlie the universe?
I wouldn't need that.
So how can you? Why don't you need that?
I wouldn't need that. I wouldn't need that to know that consciousness decisively shows materialism is false. I wouldn't need that for that conclusion.
Okay.
Our third-person subjective experience. Sorry? Yeah. Sorry.
Why can't you just say I'm like 99.999%?
No,
why do you have to be?
Because conceptually, it's impossible for science to solve the problem of hard problem consciousness. My first-person experience of drinking water cannot be broken down from a third-person neuroscientist studying my brain. It's impossible.
I understand the arguments. Why do you need to be dogmatic about it? Why not?
I wouldn't say I'm needing to be dogmatic. I'm saying, excuse me, I'm categorical based upon the evidence.
Can I chip in? You're pivoting on the word need, which adds a total tone to this. Just, I think you made a good point to Felix. Well, our accusation against you is we don't like your 100% certainty. Yeah? We want to have constructive discussion. Your counter-argument to Felix was, is astrology better than astronomy?
Science.
Yeah. And you gave an answer.
As a judge. Yeah, that's a judge.
And he was asking, are you 100% sure?
No, I'm not. Of course I'm not. That's a judgment. It's a judgment. Why is that funny?
That's funny.
How sure are you?
I'm making a value judgment about whether astronomy is better as a form of science than astrology.
What's your percentage commitment to astronomy being better than astrology?
99.999.
99.999. Okay, fine. That was your point.
Of course. Yeah.
But why would I ever say 100%?
I mean, for example.
Why?
Yes, you're right.
Okay, so going back to Descartes, I think therefore I am.
I can't presume.
That's a certainty.
But that's the only certainty.
Okay.
Everything else is speculation.
Okay.
Would we not agree?
No. Descartes' view was to use that certainty to find new certainties.
No, to find something which was the most probable thing after that. What's the
least shaky foundation?
He got there because he realised I can't trust anything about the homunculus.
Let me break it from the beginning.
Yeah.
If I start off with I'm conscious, therefore I am. I exist.
Yes.
From that base, I then come up with other certainties, like being a moral human person's better than being an immoral, selfish person, categorically.
That's not a certainty.
Why is that not a certainty? No, it's a certainty for me.
I know it feels like one, but you haven't joined the dots from I think therefore I am, which we all agree is a certainty,
what I mean,
to being a good ethical person means behaving like this. That's a massive number of steps you have to take. The movement I would step out from I think therefore I am into I believe I am in an ordered system. A very, very general assertion like that.
Okay, but
I don't think this is chaos.
I think there's something missing here. You believe, or I think you believe, everything needs to be justified. I don't.
In terms of probabilities, the only certainty I accept is I am.
Okay, so I believe in self-evident truths.
Yeah, intuitive.
Self-evident.
I think I think I am is an intuitive.
So I'll lay out some things to you which I don't believe need to be justified.
Go on, please.
And you can use all of these unjustified.
Yeah.
Unjustified doesn't mean false.
Great. These are your foundational assumptions.
And then from that you can build a worldview.
Not
Okay.
quite the same thing.
So I believe it's self-evident. I'm conscious. I'm alive.
We agree. We all agree?
Sure.
We don't
100%.
we don't have to agree. I'm just telling you what I believe.
No, but if the viewers know that we're at a
yes.
point
Yeah.
of agreement,
On that
I
one,
believe
yes, I agree.
I believe truth is intrinsically valuable.
okay, can we think about that a minute?
No. For me, it's unjust. It doesn't need to be justified. I believe my reasoning capabilities are to be trusted. I believe being a good.
Hang on.
I'll take issue with that one.
I believe good at. I'm just look.
I missed the second one.
Let me lay out my most passionate one.
Truth is inherently valuable.
Which is one second.
Huge.
1 second.
Number two.
Good and evil exists, right? Objectively,
Eternally,
eternally.
was
Yes.
there good and evil at the Big Bang?
Yes. Okay.
Wow, okay.
And my ultimate truth that I believe in, which is I believe God exists. Self-evident.
Right, well,
Can I recap
Okay,
these
okay.
because it's a huge foundational
Sure.
thing. You believe truth?
Okay, but
is
just one last thing. I believe all of these things with absolute certainty, and I believe they don't need to be justified.
Okay, I think you're epistemologically flawed on the level of certainty. I hope you're right about those things,
Okay.
and you may be
I am.
right about those things. All I'm questioning is how appropriate your level of certainty is. Okay? But can I just recap on those points?
Do you agree that not everything needs to be justified? You can have self-evident truths.
I think there's a difference
Only
between
I am.
self-evident truths and foundational assumptions. I am is
An intuitive, unavoidably
is
true.
kind of the unique one that trumps. I'd say everything else is a foundational assumption one has to make
Because everything
in order to do any kind of intellectual work.
Because everything else you said is an inference. Everything else you
Yes.
said has got moving parts.
No, it's not
And
an
in
inference.
those-
It's not an inference for
No,
me.
it is. I may not feel
For example-
like
It may not be
as
for
a
you,
point
but that
of
doesn't mean it
fact,
isn't
they're inference.
ontologically.
Okay.
You're saying if this, then that.
I forgot to
You're not
add.
saying if this,
I
then
forgot
that.
to add. The universe has laws of nature. There's laws
But
of
that's a
nature.
conclusion.
No, it's not.
No, it is. You
Why?
concluded
No, no.
the universe has laws. It's
No,
an
it's a
assertion.
self-evident truth I begin off with to make sense of the world.
It's a proposal. I
You
happen
don't.
to think it's true.
But how specific? If it,
Can we break down one thing at a point? Do you guys agree or disagree that not everything needs to be rationally justified?
You're running away from the
I'm not, because we built from
we've
here.
been over the I am claim. Doesn't need to find
I'm
that. Doesn't
saying
need to be
I've been very, very clear. I'll be very, very clear foundation.
But that's not.
Certainty is I am, precisely because it's intuitive and it's not an inference, yeah? Anything beyond that, which has got any moving parts or chronology or if-then statements or syllogisms, is an inference and therefore may be flawed. It may be flawed simply
Not for
because
me.
I know, because then that's where we think epistemologically you've gone a bit too far. I'm not saying your conclusions are wrong, but the path you're walking to get there, I think, is too epistemologically confident. And in order to be able to debate with other people, it helps if you can meet them at a level where you're slightly less epistemologically confident, even though your conclusions may be correct. That's the ground I'm trying to harden.
I see what you're saying, but I think you've misunderstood my position. It's not that I've arrived or justified them. It's I just believe them.
I know you believe it with 100%
Have you always believed these things?
Yes.
Always.
As far as I can remember.
From when you were a baby.
Except for the laws of nature, that's maybe something I thought about later.
So you have to think about the laws of nature.
Sorry?
So they weren't self-evident truths if you had to think about them.
No, I think you're mistaking me epistemically not having access to a self-evident truth with the existence of their
Wait,
self-evident truth.
is the
That's fallacious.
Hang on, you're mixing your ontology with your epistemology. Whether or not the truth
No, no.
was out
Yeah,
there...
you are. That's what it is.
No, I'm not.
No, you are. We're
Because
questioning your epistemology, not the ontology.
Because
the thing may be out
we can
there, but the
discover
question is how do you
self-evident
get
truths.
how can we know they're self-evident? Surely if they're self-evident, we shouldn't need to discover them. They should just be burned into our brains from the moment we're born.
Okay. If what you're saying is
Otherwise
right,
they're not
if
self-evident,
what you're saying is right, why did it take a lot of labour for? I'm just asking you the question for Descartes to come to I think therefore I am. His meditations are, I studied them at university. It's just
because we
don't start from the ground level. If we're humans, we're just like individual lumps of meat and electricity and water, right? If there is such a thing,
not just that.
Well, that's an assertion. I claim that we are that, right? And if you want to claim that there is an underlying, singular, intrinsic, ontological truth system that underlies in the entirety of reality, to say that we can just access it as like an individual, like dumb lump of meat is that seems just.
So just on your statement, do you believe matter exists categorically?
I can't say categorically. No, I can't say.
I'll go 99 minimum.
Yeah, something pretty high.
Is space and time an illusion created in our minds, or does it exist?
Oh, to some extent, yes, absolutely.
Oh,
yes.
You got categorical certainty.
No, I said to some extent.
Okay. Not how certain are you? It's fair to ask the question both ways. Yeah, we can't say that we don't like 100% certainties and then propose any ourselves beyond.
But I'm not sure defining it on a 0 to 1 continuum is even that helpful.
I think it's very useful. We can all understand a percentage scale. It's easy and it's quick.
It's like measuring pain, basically.
No. I'll go 99%.
On space and time being, I've no idea. Like,
I've no idea. Maybe a good answer.
Maybe 50, about 50, somewhere in the middle, probably. Like, I really don't know.
I'm not going to challenge you. I'm just asking.
I'm familiar with people like Donald Hoffman and Wolfram who've done lots of work on the brain, how our nervous system intakes qualia, light, sound, etc. And there are things that happen in the brain, processes that do change the data, the objective external qualia that our body takes in. It changes it before we actually see it in our visual feed or our oral feeds. So yes. In that sense, one of your self-evident truths was, what was it? That are logical, that are interpretation.
Materialism is challenged categorically by consciousness.
No, there was something about our ability to logically deduce things, or our ability to interpret our environments.
Our ability to reason.
Our ability to reason. But if you admit that our brains are to some degree not showing us ontologically true reality, then that means to some extent your brain is not representing reality to you. And there may be all sorts of good reasons for that. But then how can you assume that we have perfect abilities to reason?
Okay, but that's an argument.
Our brains have been shown
That's an argument in my favour. That's an argument in my favour because we've recognised that we have illusions.
Hang on,
because of our mind.
Hang on, do we all agree on the distinction?
It's in my favour.
Sorry, let me cut
Why?
it.
No.
Because we detected it.
Please, Andy, just foundational stuff.
Sure.
Do we agree on the distinction between phenomenology and ontology? Yeah.
Okay.
There is the world that actually is, and then there is the world as it appears to us. Yes. Good. Carry on. I just want to know we all agree.
Okay. So you said something, and I just want your thoughts. This is just purely a thought thing. We know at least one interpretation, and again, this is a lot of discussion on this, but at least one interpretation, and again, I'm saying this probabilistically, I'm just putting a thought out to you, is that an observation of a phenomena at quantum level, according to one understanding, changes the outcome.
Yeah, it's a fallacious assumption.
No.
I believe it's a fallacious assumption.
But that's why I said it's one. It's probabilistic.
Penrose wouldn't agree with that.
That's why I said, right? So it's just a question I have. This is something I heard online. Somebody put forward a point, and I just thought I'd get. I'm neither here nor there.
Okay. Oh, I like that. That's good.
Yeah. This is something I'm not sure about. Just putting it out there.
Good.
If that is to be taken at face value, that okay, an observation has affected an outcome.
Yeah.
isn't that inductive probabilistic evidence that consciousness interacts with the physical?
Yes, it would seem to be. Unfortunately, yeah, it would, which is why a lot of people are keen on it. Because it's
I'm keen on it too.
I would love to be keen on it. I swear, I heard it and I thought that would be wonderful. Yeah, because it would speak to an emergent property of consciousness, which is in a feedback loop with the material substrata. Yes, unfortunately.
Can I go a little bit wild with this? Because I have a wilder idea. If that is true, and at the quantum level consciousness can affect matter, then that means consciousness can work at much greater levels. And I just want to go a bit more crazy. Wait 1 second. Wait one more second. 1 second. As I'm walking down the street, as Rupert Sheldrake points out, and someone's staring at me, their consciousness is interfering with mine, and I turn around and I look at them. I don't know. It's very interesting. I think it's possible.
What you just said would be a logical inference from your premise, but the premise, unfortunately, I think is flawed if you look at the data objectively. Okay? Because what they're saying
I don't think we can say it's flawed. We can say it's probabilistic.
No. It follows. Logically, you're being logical. If qualia, if consciousness actually affects matter by observation, then everything you said thereafter would seem to make sense. But Penrose, and I think a lot of us would go, no, it's a woo-woo thing. What's happening is not that consciousness collapses the wave function, it's that in order to measure the wave function so consciousness become aware of it, you have to interfere with it, hit it with a photon. It's a physical process.
But the jury's out on that because he's been responded to as well.
The jury is out on that, but
so that's why I said it's probabilistic.
Okay, but
I would wish it to be true. I would wish it to be true. This is where my need comes in. I would want it to be true.
All of it to be true. This is why the spiritual journey of being honest with oneself is being aware. I'd love to believe that. You'd love to believe that. I think you might want to believe that. You don't care that much. We'd love to believe that.
I'll pray for that too.
Disciplined. I'd pray for that to be true as well. Yeah. But I've got to be disciplined myself and go, I think truth is a virtue. That's your first premise, yeah? I don't think that's 100%, but I put great faith in the fact that truth is a virtue. You must.
I didn't say it's a virtue. I said it's intrinsically valuable.
Okay, I
think
it's valuable and virtue.
Intrinsically, I think because most people say truth is instrumentally useful. I say it's intrinsically valuable.
I happen to agree with you. I think it's a cogent position. It could be wrong, but I agree with you, and I think it's logical.
Yeah, let's end on that good point because I need to catch this guy.
This has been. It's so nice to see you again.
Yeah, it is.
Really is. Thank you for giving both of us so much time.
And Felix.
Yes.
Very nice name.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't have that name anymore. It used to be a good old English name.
Indeed. That was great. I'm so glad we have genuinely good debates, and I think your viewers would gain from that one. Where we made this good deep stuff.
I think the way we've been discussing for a few years now. I think both of us are not there to win. We're just there to have a chat.
Hopefully,
I think that's what people like.
Yeah, I think they like that as well.
And I'm working on a new book. And maybe you're going to refute me on this. And the new book next year sometime is going to come out. It's going to be on Marxism and Islam.
Oh, okay, that's radical. I've never seen. You didn't do politics.
No, I do actually. I do.
Okay, okay, go on.
But I don't do it so publicly. Okay. But there's a lot of Marxists here, and a lot of Muslims have fallen for Marxism. So I want to show that it's incompatible to be a Muslim and a Marxist, and I want to show the problems with Marxism.
Ethically. Okay. That might be
and link it to
for you.
And link it to quite easy. And link it to Darwinism as well.
Okay, go for it.
Through not a link. A sociological link. So to do with Stalin and the way that the Marxists use Darwinism and this type of stuff.
I'm guessing you're looking at Hegel, yeah?
No.
Hegel was sort of.
I haven't read him yet.
He foreshadowed evolution. Yeah, he foreshadowed the idea of a synthesis and.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Marxism draws on.
Oh, you're helping me now.
Oh yeah, Marxism is drawing on Hegelian thinking, but it's taking only half of it. It's taking the material level as opposed to the psychological level.
It's like the zeitgeist, the arc of history.
Yeah, I'm not aware of this stuff.
Don't finish the book yet. No, seriously.
No, I haven't started yet. This is my new.
Dialogue and the synthesis.
I've just finished my other one, The Death of Neo-Darwinism. So that's going to be published later on this year.
Look, you're a great guy and you're bright. I in the back of my mind, being honest.
But can I explain to you what the book's about?
Sound rough. Yeah. I don't really believe that you believe that you say you believe. I don't really believe that you believe that you say you believe, and that sounds terrible. But I don't know another way to put it.
Okay,
I credit you with being honest enough, interested enough. bright enough.
But I didn't explain to you what the book's about. I think you'll agree.
I know, but your certainty that definitely this is right and this is wrong.
So the book is not me saying neo-Darwinism is dead. The book is Dennis Noble's statement, The Death of Darwinism, and I track the discussion between Dawkins and Noble, and me and my co-author Salman Butt. What we do is we track the discussion and we end the book's conclusion with neo-Darwinism or the third way of evolution, whether it's right or wrong. All of this makes no difference to whether God exists or not.
No, you're absolutely
and we're not even saying neo-Darwinism is dead. It's actually just clickbait.
It doesn't make a difference.
It's a clickbait.
Unfortunately, we were okay with going, we think we've discovered an evolutionary process and there may be a God, but then what we get from your side of the fence is no, we've got a book that says evolution can't be true.
No, it's not.
If it didn't say that,
but the book is not saying evolution is not true. It's saying why Dennis Noble is arguing neo-Darwinism is dead.
No, I meant the Quran. Sorry, I'm on the Quran now. What the Quran would seem to be saying, evolution can't be true. Yes?
No.
Please tell your viewers that.
No, people know that already.
I don't think they're filming anymore.
But
only if you want to. So the Quran doesn't say evolution.
No, I've covered this in many of my talks online as well. The Quran is silent on many different things. So when it comes to biological processes, whether dinosaurs existed or not, fossils, paleontology, all of that, you just discover what you discover.
Great. But that's not what I hear your viewers receiving from anybody. They're not getting that message. They're getting the message. The Quran makes it clear that Darwinian evolution is wrong. That's the message. And that's a scientific assertion. You're making a biological assertion.
Going back to Adamic exceptionalism, the point that's being made is that you have to accept. Okay, going back to my discussion, and I'll leave this for the viewers for them to watch.
Is this still filming?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I didn't know.
Shoaib and my discussion on the Quran and evolution, that podcast, that covers all these points that we're talking about what the Quran allows, where it doesn't allow in terms of evolution.
But for the record now then, does the Quran actually refute the possibility of Darwinian evolution?
No.
Including human beings coming from it. I don't want I don't want some trick about other species evolved but human beings I mean across the board.
Categorically, the Quran, the implication of the Quranic verses is Adam having any ancestors is impossible. Human chimp ancestry, from that perspective, is impossible.
Okay, which
that is
to contradict Darwinian evolution.
No.
Yes?
That would contradict the origin of our species, but as Shoaib covers in his book, Islam and Evolution, the other species and the other processes, there is a way of reconciling that.
That is what I just said. So what you guys try to do, so I don't want to generalize it about you, but is to go, we accept the mechanism of evolution and that it's applied to other life forms, but human beings are an exception. Okay? In other words, if I had a camera and I filmed human beings now and I ran it backwards in time, generation, if I was a Darwinian, I believe I would see us slowly mutating back down through the ape lineage, etc.
2001.
You don't believe that's true?
Space Odyssey.
You don't believe that we backtrack?
Remember your view.
It is a metaphor.
No,
it's a good one.
No, but remember your view of Adamic exceptionalism. That's what the view is.
Squares the circle. Adamic exceptionalism squares the circle. It means if I followed a camera back, I would find physically, I would film going back through the species a point at which there was Adam and Eve, and they appeared miraculously, but I could keep going back and there'd be humans before them who had evolved through Darwinian evolution, and if I then run it forward again, I would go, but it's not a problem because the two merge when the species interbreed.
Like I mentioned, that's one version of Adamic exceptionalism.
Okay, but that's the one I'm advocating for the minute as being the most intellectually coherent and most likely to harmonise the two sides of the argument.
But why is it not coherent? coherent? Why is it not coherent to have the other view of Adamic exceptionalism,
I don't know.
which Adam goes back before the Denisovans, before the Neanderthals? So Adam goes back way before any of that.
Before the tadpoles? I mean, how far
Not before the tadpoles. Not before the tadpoles.
How old is Adam?
Before. I'm just having. Sorry, I'm having a chat. Sorry,
10,000 years ago?
brother, I'm having a chat.
I'm sorry, I was just asking something.
Sorry.
Sorry, we'll try and get your question in. Okay,
So let me just finish here, then I'll speak to you.
yeah.
Let's go, man. Let's go. No problem.
So what was my point I was
The
making?
point is that Adam preceded even the
Yeah, sorry. Going back. Adamic exceptionalism 1, Adamic exceptionalism 2.
Okay.
The second version of Adamic exceptionalism, for me, that is a possibility. And that is, there's no interbreeding.
Okay.
Adam is the I'm not saying it's true.
I get it.
I'm not saying it's
That's
true.
fine, that's fine.
So William Lane Craig, he takes Adam back to Homo heidelbergensis, I believe. Now, he's kind of interesting because I think his views have changed as well. But he takes Adam back a long time. So these are, I think, interesting perspectives. I'm not tied to any one of them. But what I am tied to...
So you're undecided on these possibilities, yeah?
Except for the interbreeding. I don't accept the interbreeding.
William Lane Craig also thinks the massacre of the Canaanites was morally excusable.
No, I mean, I don't believe that because...
No, I know I'm saying you believe that, but I'm saying that to some extent puts into question his thinking.
Well, it's ethical.
No, I don't agree with that because
so
this is
I know they are, but they're not directly. They are.
no, but Felix, that was the reason that Dawkins cited not to debate him, and I think that's unfair. Because
I know that.
Yeah, because of the massacre of the Canaanites,
Sure.
Dawkins said, "I'm not going to debate such an immoral person."
Well, I can understand. Yeah, I can understand. That's ethically abhorrent to the point when you might not want to talk to the guy.
No, but I don't
it's
agree with
possible
that.
He could still do maths correctly.
I'm not. Yeah, of course. But of course, it means that.
But I think it showed. I think it showed on the part of Dawkins a type of cowardice, and I'll explain to you why. Because the same belief that he attributes to William Lane Craig is the same belief that the American creationists have, but Dawkins has no problem going and refuting them. And he's being inconsistent here. You know the museum. I know.
If not, I'm here to defend Richard Dawkins, but I think if I had to, it's probably like just a career choice. He's in his 80s. He's 83 now. He's doing his last book tour. He just doesn't want to have this hassle anymore. Yes, back in the day, he did all the debates with Ken Ham, did all the documentaries with Chris.
That's my point. Being inconsistent. He's being inconsistent.
Is someone not allowed to change their practices through their life? I'm not saying that. We have to attack him for being inconsistent.
He doesn't have to accept the debate, and he has the right to change his mind. What I'm pointing out is something which another Oxford philosopher, Daniel Kane, pointed out, and is that Dawkins should have debated, and him not debating is basically a sign of cowardice. And I'm not saying that's an atheist philosopher at the same university saying that.
Just even if Dawkins is,
he's a coward.
even if
I would say he's a coward.
Even if he is,
and I know you're not
a coward and all of those negatives, it doesn't mean that the ideas he's proposing are false. Yeah, it really doesn't.
Yeah, but they are also false. The God delusion's main argument, which William Lane Craig, I believe the mistake William Lane Craig made, which you shouldn't do, is he published the refutation of the God delusion online before he invited him to a debate. And I think that if he didn't do that, if he just asked him to debate, I think Dawkins might have done it.
Oh, really? Whatever, the mechanism itself seems coherent with the objective data in the lab.
But the abuse of the mechanism metaphysically... No, but look, I'll give you a perspective of, say, Michael Behe. Michael Behe accepts universal common ancestry, right? Like no Adamic exception. He just believes humans should have ancestry.
We all come from light.
Everything. He accepts everything, right? However, he doesn't agree with neo-Darwinism. We're going to finish now anyway. He doesn't agree with neo-Darwinism, right? I reckon what's happened with Dawkins is he's misused his mantle as a professor to push out metaphysical views which the science doesn't support.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's too materialist for my liking, yeah? But it's not his area of expertise, and he should
Definitely not in physics, definitely not in philosophy.
Yeah? But he is advocating a mechanism which seems to work in the lab for other species. You agree it works for other species. The only point of contention is...
Actually, I don't believe it works for other species.
You don't think the...
I thought you said a moment ago, you said it did.
No, I didn't. Okay, so let me just be very clear. I believe Darwinian evolution is the dominant naturalistic theory that we have, the best naturalistic theory that we have currently, naturalistically. But when it comes to natural selection, I am more in line with the third way evolutionists that natural selection plus random mutations is a background process and is not sufficient to explain biodiversity.
But that still means it's a valid process. It just means that it's missing some of the picture.
It's
wrong.
So okay, I'll explain to you what that basically means. And obviously, there's a difference of opinion in third way evolutionists, different ones of them. I'm giving you my perspective.
Can you tell the camera what third way evolution is?
Yeah, they basically disagree with neo-Darwinism, but they're still naturalists and believe in common ancestry like Dennis Noble. So I believe, this is just my belief, because obviously they reject intelligent design, I accept it. I believe natural selection is a true process which has been documented in labs, but it's a tertiary process which at best plays a very small role in the evolutionary process.
Wow. Okay, and you believe that a bird, if there was a bird...
Can I summarize it in a sexy way?
Yes, please.
Natural selection explains the survival of the fittest, but not the arrival of the fittest.
Okay.
That's a good one. I need to go, because I've been waiting. And
really enjoyed it.
But that's a good way of ending.
It's really good.
Yes, really good. Felix,
Great to talk to you.
good to speak to you. I think we spoke once before about morality.
Quite cool.
But I'm gonna start coming more often as well.
Yeah, please do. It'll be good.
I'll give you my book.
Right, I've got your number.
Yeah, but you don't have WhatsApp, so
I don't have. No, I don't have.
he's ancient.
Yeah, man. He's a modern guy. You can WhatsApp him. You can WhatsApp him. One day I'll get it. How are you guys all doing anyway?
Yeah, we've just been travelling around and stuff.
Yeah.
Just go different. I went to Bosnia, I went to Pakistan. Before that, I was somewhere else. We do a lot of travelling.
Because somebody was ill, weren't they? I saw you here about 8 months ago, and somebody been ill. You've been in hospital.
Oh, that's my sister.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, she's fine. She's fine. Yeah. All the best.
Yeah. Do you want to come to the pub? No, you don't.
Oh. Cheeky.
Trick question.